And okie dokie. Okay. So once again, thank you very much, everyone, for joining this session. I will start sharing my screen with you and show you the different things that we are going over to talk about Beyond the Net medium and large grant. As you know, we have moved to the foundation. We have also now an executive director. Her name is Sarah Armstrong. She would like to be here today, but unfortunately she had a last minute meeting and she can't be here to say a hello to all of you, but you will have the chance to meet her in the near future. So Sarah will be in charge of the foundation. And as you might have heard, there are going to be new programs that are going to come probably next year, because there's still lots of work to put a program together and all that. In the meanwhile, so Beyond the Net medium and large grants plus small grants remains with the foundation with very small modifications, but basically the programs remain the same for this year, and we'll see what happens next year. Maybe there are even more changes and opportunities for the chapters. I would also like to tell you just a heads up for the chapter tone that's currently going on. So if you have a project, please think about it and submit it before the deadline, which is the 5th of August. So that's important. And we are still going on with the chapter admin clarifications, and most of the payments have now gone out. So if yours didn't have yours yet, don't hesitate to contact me. So Valerie is new in the global engagement team, and she's going to be helping us with the chapter admin so that all the administration process is going to happen faster. Okay, we have also here with us Nikki somewhere. Nikki, that you all know, that is doing blogs for the medium and large grants, and also for the small grants and the chapters. So Nikki is helping us with all the comms around the Beyond the Net program. If you have any questions about blogs, etc., you can always contact her, and you can exchange maybe a chat on this session. But so now let's go one step back and start with Beyond the Net medium and large grants. So let me share my screen with you. There we go. Okay, so now you should be able to see the foundation website. I'm just going to enlarge it a little bit. For those of you that didn't have the chance to see over it, all the information that you will need about the program, about Beyond the Net, will be under the foundation website. And currently we are here on the small grants, but we are going to move to the large grants. Of course, this session is about the large grants, but if you have any questions about the other programs, I'm also happy to answer that at the end of the session. Okay, so the Beyond the Net medium and large grants is open until the end of this months. We're currently checking the applications that have come in. There might be a possibility that we will extend it, but it's not yet sure, and I will inform you about it in the future. So all the information, as I said, about the program will be on this page. Why are we doing Beyond the Net? And I think some of you have participated on previous grants, and you know that this is a unique opportunity for all of you, our chapters and special interest groups, to help the local communities, to fund a project that is important for the region, that will help people connect to the internet, that will help people gain knowledge, skills with any ICT related subjects that we have. So this year we'll have focus areas that, of course, each year the focus areas change a little bit and they are aligned, of course, with ISOC's main objectives. So one of our goals has been and remains connecting the people around the world. So all your projects, the projects that you have on connecting people, might it be in rural areas or in urban areas, they all are, of course, welcome and eligible for a grant. Then we have improving technical security. Anything that has to do about being safer on the internet, it's part of the of our objectives. This is one of our goals. How can we be safer? How can we protect the users of the internet? And how can we inform the people around it? Because I think that's a key. It's key information, and many of the people around us that are not part of this world don't know that. So it's you're locally that can do that work, and we are really thankful for that. And this is needed all around the world. And so together with that, we have building trust, projects that contribute to the expansion and evolution of the internet. Society policy framework for an open and trust internet. I think you probably have heard Andrew said that many times, and this is really key for our mission, and has always been important for all of us. So those are the things that you'll be working this year. Your projects need to fall in one of the other categories, and sometimes the categories are they kind of overlap one another, which is fine. So these are the categories for this year. And then talking about the eligibility, who can apply for the program. And the rules here have changed a little bit, but not completely. So to be able to apply for Beyond the Net, you have to be a chapter in good standing. Or if you are in pre-rejuvenation, you can also apply for a grant. So this is a condition, and so people outside our community cannot apply for funding. This is really your program. So of course you can receive applications from members of your community and discuss internally on the chapter if this is a project that is relevant, is in line with the chapter mission, the chapter objectives for the year. So you have to check all of that. But that's key. Okay, so we don't accept applications from people outside our membership. Okay, so one of the changes that we have here is that, for example, for SIGs that are applying, they have to apply in collaboration with a local chapter. Why we are doing that? Because we were requested, for liability reasons, basically to pay fundings only to official bank accounts. So if a SIG or a chapter does not have an official bank account, ISOC cannot pay funds to them. So knowing the situation that today, many of our SIGs, if not all, don't have a bank account, what we are asking our SIGs is that they work with the local chapter and together they submit an application. That doesn't mean that the chapter itself cannot submit an application for them. They can submit an application as a chapter, and they will submit an application as a SIG as well. It's just, a way to help our colleagues in SIG that have project ideas and that they would like to apply. I think it's a good opportunity to collaborate between chapters and special interest groups. So it's one of the new things that we have, and our colleagues on the regions, the regional development managers, so Victor, Nancy, Nick, etc., they are helping on how to set up a bank account with all of you. So this is an important thing. Other than that, if you have a grant from a previous years and you have not submitted the reports, then of course you are not eligible. So if you're not sure about that, send me an email, let me know, and I will check for you what is missing. Otherwise, if you submit your application, then it might be rejected if you have a report opening. So this is very important. I also remind you that you can have only one large grant at the time, and that brings us to funding.
Yeah, the question that you have in the chat room here is related to the number of applications that the chapter can submit.
Very good question, yes. So you can submit as many applications as you want, but I wouldn't recommend you to do that. Actually, the system allows you to submit several applications. But you have to think about the Beyond the Net as an opportunity for, you know, all of our chapters. And of course, the funding is limited. And I would recommend you not to submit more than 3 applications. And you could submit one large project and one medium project, but not more than 3 applications, because one of the things that the selection committee looks at is that if we have, you know, at the end when we're doing the selection, and at the end they will look who's got funding, and then of course if there are 2 applications that are really good, but one chapter has already been approved for funding, then we probably are going to give a chance to a chapter that didn't have funding this round. So I would say not more than tres, not more than not tres, but not more than 3, and of course you will increase the chances to receive funding, but we don't also want you to submit applications and at the end get 0 that are funded. That's not the goal. The goal is that you really submit an application that is strong and that has the chances to succeed. So do not go over 3.
Yeah, on the other hand, Hilda, the rule of 1 project per chapter per calendar year or per cycle is still applicable, right? So a single chapter cannot be running 2 projects at the same time. So let's say chapter A submitted 2 very good applications. So I believe we cannot approve the 2 because we will have to approve just 1 because the chapter cannot work on 2 projects at the same time. Correct?
Okay. That's just one thing. So the chapter can have 1 large grant and 1 medium grant at the same time, but they cannot have 2 large grants at the same time. So one of the things that we look at when we're doing the evaluation is that does the chapter has the capacity to actually run 2 projects at the same time. So that's one of the things that the selection committee will look at. But the chapter can have two applications at the same time. So two projects at one time. 1 medium and 1 large, but not 2 large at the same time. Does it make sense?
That's good to know, because I believe in the past it has been always that is 1 project per cycle
approved
related to the size. So
yeah, which we changed. We changed that last year to give an opportunity for sometimes a project like a 24 months project, a 30K project can be sometimes delayed for reasons that have nothing to do with the chapter. So if there is still a chance for the chapter to run 2 projects and we have really, I think, 2 chapters that on that situation. So it's not something that is like very common, but it can happen. So like if you are at the end of your project and then it makes sense for a chapter to still start another project, maybe a medium project.
another question here from Amrita. So how about a chapter had 2 applications, but one is from a SIG? Then what? So
okay, so then we'll consider that one is a SIG application and one is a chapter application. So you'll be able on the application to define that if it's a SIG or if it's a chapter. So we'll make the difference when we see that.
So in other words, the chapter can get, let's say, 2 large grants, but it is clear that one is for the SIG and one is for the chapter. So
exactly, yeah.
So the chapter is just facilitating,
yes,
the money transfer and other stuff. So
yes, yeah. It's just, yeah, it's a facilitator until we have a solution for the bank accounts. Yeah. Any other questions, Victor?
one more question. No.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So those questions were actually, I was going to talk about it. So they anticipated regarding funding. So there's a little change regarding before our medium projects were up to 12,000. We have increased it a little bit to 15,000 this year. So if you have 1 year project of 15,000, we can still consider it, as a medium project. So you can apply up until 15,000, and then if you have a larger project, that needs a longer implementation, you can apply for 30K. And you have 2 years to complete the project. So I would ask you to be really careful when you are putting your project proposal together, to think about the funding, to think about the time that the project is going to take to implement you, and always, when you're doing that, always plan an extra 3, 4, 5, 6 months, because we know that in the beginning we tend to be really optimistic, and then once we are doing the implementation, it takes longer. So consider any risks that might happen during the project that eventually could anticipate. So are you planning enough time to complete your project on time? So knowing that the large grants have to be completed in 2 years. And another advice that I will tell you: don't ask for 30K if you need 20, okay? Because that's the selection committee is going to be looking into that, right? So you do your budget according to the needs of your project. You have to be specific on the application, and you submit your project. Okay. So I am going to jump in over here. So as the application deadline is the 31st of July. If there is an extension, we'll inform you. Don't count with it. So plan it, start your application now, and save. You can start working on the application in MemberNova, and make sure that you please apply before the deadline. Okay. The application review process, so it's done through the selection committee. There is experts from all the regions around the world, and they are going to be reviewing your applications, and they are going to be making the decisions at the end who is going to get money or not. If you are a successful applicant, of course, you will have to sign a grant agreement with us, with ISOC. And you will have, of course, to comply to the reporting requirements that we require in the program. Okay, so that's about it. So I want to show you the information on the website, because I have a PowerPoint, but on the website we tend to remember better where the things are. I'm going to jump into the PowerPoint in a few minutes. I just wanted to tell you, if you don't know where to start, what to do, etc., you can always look for the stories for inspiration. So here you have some of the projects that were approved in the past, that were completed, and I'm thinking here the project with from the Philippines, testing drones for post-disaster operations, that was a successful in the Philippines. So that's an inspiration story. And we have better policy in Nepal as well. So there are some ideas on how you can, what you can do for your community if you are looking for an idea and you don't know what to do. But I know that you always have many ideas. So, but that can give you an idea of, what we are looking for. So as you know, the applications now are submitted in MemberNova. And
Now we have two questions here.
Yeah, sure.
So the first one from Mayun is, what is the Internet Society role during the execution of the project?
Okay, so so what is our role as ISOC? So one of the things that that we will look is we will look into what you are doing, what is the progress of your project. So we will ask you for large grants or small or medium grants. We will ask you for a report every 6 months about the progress of your project. So that's for us to know what's going on your project. Sometimes you might need money before the ending of the project. Sometimes your project might be delayed, and you need to inform us about that. And in case there is you are stuck because of I don't know, you wanted to for example build an antenna in some rural area, and now you are stuck because you're lacking maybe some information on the technical side on how to do it, etc. So if that is the case for you, it can be technical, or it can be policy, or it can be anything else. So if you get stuck ever on your project and you need information about it, you should contact us. So myself, Victor, Nick, the people in the region, and tell us, this is this, I'm having this problem with the project. What can I do? So what we can do in this side, we will put you in, put you in touch with people that can help you, can help you overcome your problem. So that's why whenever you are running a project and you are having difficulties, don't be ashamed, don't feel stuck. Tell us about it. If we know about it, and we know that problems happen, it's okay. Anything sometimes happen in a different way that we had planned when we have projects. So tell us about it. If we know about it, we can help you implement, overcome those problems that you may face. So we kind of overview that. Of course, at the end of your project and all along, we are looking to what have you achieved? What are you achieving with your project? What are your outcomes? Because that's what we can say about Beyond the Net. If we can report on impact, we can demonstrate the value of the program. If we are not able to demonstrate the value of the program, so maybe they will stop it. So that's really important, that you comply with reports for us, that you tell us, oh, you know what, I received another grant from another, another institution, another organization. And of course, we are going to be happy for you, because we want your project to be successful and to continue beyond the grant that you receive from ISOC. And we have many cases where ISOC, provided the first money. And some of you may remember the community grants program back then, when we used to give 10K, and that was it. So $10,000, but people started many projects like that. That's afterwards got money from other organizations, went on, etc. So for us, it's important that we kind of know what's everything that is going on during the implementation, and then we also know what, the success that the project is having on your side. So anything about any news about your project are always welcome. And Nikki, she tweets all the news when she receives it, so it's shared on among the ISOC channels, and people know that the ISOC chapters are doing, and SIGs sorry, are doing a great job. So it's really important for us to be part of the whole process. Don't feel alone. If I have not contacted you, which sometimes I do, but sometimes I might, I haven't reached out for you, don't feel alone. Just say, hey, Hilda, what's happening? I asked you a question, you didn't get back to me. So it's important that we keep the communication going on.
We have another question here. We have two or three or four questions, Hilda. So
yes, go ahead.
About the budget of the project. So Sherry is saying that meaning if the chapter has a project that the budget is 25K, let me just read. Must that apply for 15K and cover the remaining 10K by other means, or applying for 30K and returning the remaining 5K?
So sorry, I'm not sure if I got it.
Yeah,
so
I got
if the chapter,
so
maybe let me go to the chat.
So if you have your project, so because the Internet Society is supporting your project based on the budget. So if your budget of your project is 25K, just request what you need. So
exactly.
if you have some other organization supporting you for 10K, so you are requesting ISOC to support for
15.
For 15. But if you have 0 organizations supporting you, and so you will submit your project as a large grant, but what you are requesting is 25K. So you don't have to stretch it to 30K because of the windows. That large grant has to be 30K. So just request what you need. So same thing for small grant. So if your project needs just 8K to be completed, just request that. So you don't have to stretch it to 10K or 15K because of that window. So it is important to request what you need. So the next question is from Moses, from saying, so for SIGs account, can they submit a large project and a small one?
Yeah, for SIGs that don't, they can submit 2 projects.
Okay, so next question is from Daphne. So okay, may I know when? So knowing about when the results or the selected project will be announced.
So the results of the projects will be announced at the end of October.
Okay, another question from Moses. If a member or members of the chapter gets the funding, now is the local chapter involved?
Okay, so that's not possible. So the members cannot submit applications. So I was going to get into how to submit applications just before we started with the questions. So
yeah, maybe it's good that you, because I'm not also caution with time. So maybe you run the PowerPoint and then it will answer many other questions that.
But I like that interaction that we have at the same time. Okay, so so just for information, so only the chapter board members can submit applications. So if you are a member of a chapter and you would like to apply for Beyond the Net, then you have to contact the board members and say, hey, I have this great idea, I have the plan in place, I would like to do that. So you contact the board members, and then the board members will say, okay, this is a good idea, maybe you should improve the budget, maybe you should improve the timeline, let's do the project. So together, all together, you work on the project, then you submit it, and then if the project is approved, and then of course the chapter is responsible to receiving the funds. Okay, the fundings are not paid directly to members, so the chapter has to be involved. The chapter board members need to be involved somehow in the project, and that's one thing that you can define when you are doing the application. So you will define who's going to do what in the project. And what we really like is that it's a project that shows collaboration with the members. We don't want a project from the chapter board members only. We want a project that is done in collaboration with the members. So it's a group of people doing many things, and that's how you can be successful. Because I have seen along the years projects failing because there was one person doing everything. And you have to think about it as, this is not your project, right? Maybe you have had the idea, and we all have great ideas, but to do something that lasts, we need many people to be involved in that. And we have the chance to have the chapter, and the people in the chapter have lots of expertise, so we can benefit from that. So we do the things together, and it's a chapter project, and it's something that you had the idea, can be proud of, but the person that helped you doing that is proud of as well. Yes, Victor.
Yeah, I was saying that is a very important point, because many chapters are experiencing that a chapter member has an idea, and it is turned into an application for a grant. And when it gets approved, the chapter member who had the idea is thinking that this is my project, so I have to run it by myself. So it is truly clear to stress that this program is for chapters. So it's a collective thing, and the chapter is not one person or two person or the board. It's everyone bringing the idea, and at the end, it's something that is carried out by the chapter. So it's not about someone say, oh, I had an idea, the project was submitted, so I need to be the one running it from A to Z. So the very important is that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Other questions? So
yes.
We have other questions. Maybe you would like to continue before you go to it. So, and Daphne is, so may I ask about the release of grants? Is ISO release the entire approved grant at the beginning, or only portion of the grant?
That's a good point. Okay, so the payments, the disbursements, once the project is approved, they are done at the beginning of the project. Once you sign the grant agreement, so the first step after the approval, so all of you will be informed via email, either success or not success. But the project is approved, you will be required to sign a grant agreement with ISOC, and then the first payment, once the grant agreement is signed, then I can make the request for payment. So you will receive half of the payment in the beginning of the year, the grant, the beginning of the grant, and then the second half at the middle of the project, as long and providing that you have submitted your reports and that your reports are approved, internally by myself, of course, but also by the financial department. So that's a requirement. So, and then, so two installments mainly. At the beginning of the grant, at the middle of the grant, if the reports are approved. Of course, if you are at the middle of the project and you have not spent half of your money that has been paid, we are not going to pay that. So that financial is very strict on that. Only if you've used the funds up until now that you had to use, and then we can disburse the second installment. And one thing that I would like to tell you as well is that, you know, the disbursements process, it's a whole approval process. So it's not me sending you the money because I don't have any money. It's an approval process. So I, for example, beginning of the grant, you sign the grant. I say, okay, grant is signed. I make the request. The request goes to my boss. So now Sarah, she's going to check it. She's going to approve it. And then it goes to finance. And then finance, of course, is going to check it again. And then it goes to the approval process on the finance department. So it can take up to, you know, 2 to 3 weeks sometimes to get that completed if someone is traveling. So, you know, if you need money, and I'm saying that for a small grant or for a large grant, or always plan ahead and know that it will take you at least 5 weeks for you to get the money in your bank account. Okay, so be aware of that. Sometimes there are delays, and of course, if you don't see the money and I told you I've made the request, ask me, because then, you know, we had just had this week 2 problems where once we submitted the money and the bank account was closed. So the money was transferred, but on the other side, the bank account was closed. So it's also important that if there are changes on your bank account, that you communicate them to us, so that, you know, we don't run in this type of problems, because now the money is rejected. We're going to have to restart the process again, and it's going to take another, you know, another couple of days for the money to be transferred. And sometimes, because we're sending money, you know, to so the payments are done from out of US. So we always need the intermediary bank account details, and if those details are not there, that will delay the payment as well. So those just some, you know, some things that for you to know. But let's you know, let's focus on what do you need for your application to be successful. I don't know if there are any questions on the chat. There were just a couple of recommendations that I had, and checking the time here, that I would like to
I can let you finish before going back to questions.
Okay, so let me share my screen again with all of you. Up. And let me make it full screen. Right. Okay. So as I was saying just before, your application is submitted in MemberNova. The good thing about MemberNova is that anything that you will do will be now in MemberNova. Report things, everything, you will have the full picture, disbursements, everything on the same place. So you're going to start to seeing that this year. And one thing that I would like to repeat again, because I have had people asking me this question a few times, is that as a chapter board, you log in into MemberNova, and you have to log in into your chapter. For example, here on this screenshot, we have the chapter. You log in your chapter, and only when you log in your chapter, you see the programs that are open. You don't see them on the first page, okay? So if you don't see the programs, log into your chapter, look to the right, and you will find the programs that are currently opening and available for funding. And of course, if you have any questions, you can always, you know, contact Victor, myself, Nancy, you know, the people in the different regions. Okay, so the application is composed of, let's say, two main parts. Okay, once you log in, you will have to provide information about, you know, the program you're applying for, your chapter. This is actually populated automatically. And then you have to provide the information who is going to be taking care of the reports, and who's responsible for the financials of the project. So you fill in that first, you know, kind of information, and then you go on to the next step. And the next step, you actually go on into the questions of the application. I don't have a screenshot here of the questions, but the questions are all about, you know, about what are the objectives of the project, what is the timeline, what is the budget, you know, how are you going to be sustainable in the future, and so on. So the questions are, there are a few changes compared to last year for the ones that applied last year, but they still remain pretty close to what we have done in the past. But for us is to understand what is your project. Okay, so always answer all the questions. So one of the things that we'll be looking into the application is, one is, for the originality of the idea. There are sometimes really great ideas. So we look into that when we are evaluating. Well, the selection committee does looks into that. I'm there just to help them navigate through the applications. I don't vote in the process. The process is managed by the selection committee. And then we look into the long-term impact of your project. How is the project going to be sustainable in the future? What is the impact on people's life? How is this project going to help the people around you, the people of the world? And then, of course, what is the involvement of your community? So one thing that I would like to tell you is, if you're doing a project where you need participation, collaboration from the community, make sure that the people really need and want to collaborate with you. Because we have seen some cases where, we said, okay, we're going to do a series of trainings on that school, but if that school cannot, for some reason, collaborate with you, so it's important that you do that, that kind of homework or pre-work to make sure that the people really want to and can work with you. Okay, so we look into this type of things when we are looking into your application. Okay, so how to prepare for your application, and I think we have been discussing it a little bit. So there are a couple of resources that you can look at. First of them, there is one application that was successful that you can look at, and I can share with you the PowerPoint slide so you can check. You can check the application. It's the application that was successful. It was a couple of years ago. I think I have to renew that. And then there are the frequently asked questions that you can look at as well, to make sure that you have you have all the answers to your questions that you might have. And then you can get inspired. Nikki has on here a beautiful slide from one of our projects about all the different things that you can look at to help you with your application. You don't have to read everything because it will be too long, but if you have a question, that those resources are there to help you. And then we're going to talk about rules. We talk about eligibility in the future, the beginning of the session, but when we're talking about the rules, it is simply asking you to follow the rules that we ask you. For the program, but also for the application itself, because of course it is based on the rules of the program. So it's basically, let's can we color inside the lines, yes or no? And we can see that someone has done a messy job over here. So basically, if you are applying for a program that gives you up to $30,000 US, then don't apply for 60,000, because you are not going to get it. So that's respecting the rules. If we tell you that, if you have an ongoing project that is reports were not submitted, we are not going to consider the project, because of course you have reports going on. So it's this type of things that we would like you to be, to be aware and to be respectful of the guidelines of the application. If we're asking you to provide an application summary of your project, then an application summary, it's at least 5-6 lines. So don't write just one line, okay? If we're asking you, thinking about the budget, to provide a support letter if you have funding from another source, then provide a support letter. Okay, so it's this type of thing that we are sure that we color within the lines and that our application can be considered for funding. Okay. Okay, so a few more tips over here. So you know that the project or an application, it's lots of planning, research, discussion internal. So that's the importance, again, that we talked with Victor before, how to discuss with the chapter, how we are going to do it. One of the questions that we have, for example, is, how do you think you are the best person to do this project? Or why is the chapter in a good position to do that? Or why is this project, why is it needed in there? So when you're giving your justification, just, you can provide some proofs that is really important for the area. And the way of doing that is maybe linking it to a study research that was done for the region, and that it says that's we need to deal with this problem, and the chapter has this qualification, so it can actually take care of this problem. So this is the type of things that we want you to think when we say plan, research, and discuss, and of course discuss more, because there's always many details on the project. Okay. As you all know, often it's 80% of preparation for 20% of writing. And if you are not a good person to write, it's fine. I am sure that in the chapter, there's some people that love writing and they are so good at it. And you can see that on the applications. So if you're not good at writing, that's fine. Ask your colleagues who can do that. And that's part of this whole thing. How can we collaborate together to do a project together? Okay. Checking the time. But this is just repeating what we just said. Make sure that the puzzle is complete. Don't send an application with missing information, because then it would be a shame that we do not consider it because something is missing on your application. That is really key. Okay. Okay, sorry, there's some movement here in the room in Geneva. Okay, Victor, I'm going to pause here. I'm not sure what time is it, because now my screen is full and I don't see the time anymore. Okay, we have a couple of minutes. Maybe I'll stop here and see if there are any questions.
I have many questions here in the chat room.
Okay. Let's answer the questions.
Yeah, so the key one was here on the one that is asking if one board member can submit two applications, or two board member has to submit applications separately.
Okay, the same board member can submit the two applications.
Yeah,
just make sure.
Make sure that people involved in the project are listed in each application.
Yes, that's that's a very good recommendation, Victor.
And the next question is
just one while you're reading that.
Financing reporting, is the audit report is required. So, but let me just read it. No audit report is required, right? So it's the Daphne is asking if the audit report is required.
The audit report is not required at that stage. So the audit report is required by our financial department at times when the project is approved, and you have to submit. You're submitting your reports, and then you have to keep all the invoices for your project expenses. Keep all the invoices, and please be very organized with that. So if for some reason our financial department says, okay, let's check the project from the Philippines, then of course Winthrop will have to provide all the invoices. And in the Philippines, they're really organized. They have everything. So, and then the finance department will look into everything. So at that stage, when we're doing the application, you don't need the audit report, but you have to be prepared to, for an audit in case your project is approved and you need to provide documentation and invoices for your financial reporting.
So are the rules the same for SIG or
The rule is the same for everybody.
Collaborate with a chapter, a local chapter, to submit a project.
So that's a very good point. Yeah. So because the chapter is receiving the funds, then the chapter has to have a copy of everything that is happening with the project. So in that case, so the SIG will have a copy of everything, and the chapter will have another copy.
So the other question is on in which language the project should be submitted.
Okay, so we are accepting 3 languages: English, French, and Spanish.
So Yuri is asking a question here. I don't get it correctly, but he's asking, unfortunately, there is no answer to how to open an account for IoT SIG.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't. I think Christine is working on that. So the person responsible for the SIGs now, you might know, it's Evelyn. She's still working with Kyle, and of course Christine. I know they have been talking about it. I don't know exactly what happened, but you can reach out to them.
I don't know if you want to add something.
She's on the call, Evelyn.
So so let me continue.
Yes.
Evelyn, she's on the call. And the last, okay, language. Yeah, I think that is pretty much. The other one is just conversation.
Okay.
If I miss someone question, you can just speak.
Yes.
I believe we don't have a lot of time left.
Hi, this is Tito from Portugal. My question is, where can I get a template for the project so that the board can submit it, so that I can work on the project, provide it to the board?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I provided the answer, but Hilda, you can add something, because I think the best template that you can use is you just copy the questionnaire and you make sure that you provide all the questionnaire to the board, and that will ease their job. But I don't know, Hilda, if you have any template somewhere.
That's a good point. I don't have a template for the large grants, but I can create one that I can put online.
Because I'm not a member of the board, so I don't have access to the questionnaire, right?
To the questionnaire, no, you don't.
That's a good point.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
To make the questionnaire available for people to download, that would be
really helpful indeed. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah, if I miss someone question, just speak, please, because we have few minutes left.
Yes. No more questions?
Apparently, no.
Okay. So can you see my sharing? I know we have 1 minute to go. I would just like you to give you another 2 recommendations. I'm going to go over the different slides over here. Just to that slide that I wanted to show you. Just if you can stay with me for another 3-4 minutes, we'll go a little bit over the hour, but it's just important to mention it. Okay, so now you're writing your application. As I said, not all of us are great writers, and it's fine, as long as we can help. You can get help from people around you, around us. So one of the things that you should always do is get someone to read your application, because people will ask you questions that you didn't think about that are important. So another tip that I would like to tell you, write as if the people in the other side didn't know anything about the subject, because you have to think about the selection committee. They come from different fields, and they will be reviewing all the applications. So they will be experts in one field, maybe less in the other. So when you're writing out the application, think that the person doesn't know. The person doesn't know anything about net neutrality. You are an expert, but in this side, there are people that don't understand it. So write if the person in the other side don't know about it. When you use acronyms, make sure that you also write the name next to it, because sometimes you might be talking about something that for you is completely clear, but in the other side, the selection committee does not know what you're talking about. Okay, it doesn't happen very often. People usually know. At least there is always someone that knows, but keep it in mind. You're writing something for a selection committee that needs to understand it, for a selection committee that is busy. So don't write a book, write what you need. So be clear, this is what I need, be brief, so not too long, and be specific, and also be accurate. Okay, so those are the 4 main things that you have to think about. So for example, when you're doing, let's say that you are doing a training on cybersecurity for your community of women. Okay, so when you say when I'm saying you are clear, you know that this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a training on cybersecurity. I'm gonna go over topic A, topic B, topic C, etc. So that's what's going to be. This is my content. The training is going to be delivered for 30 people of the community, and I'm going to do that in 5 times. I'm being clear, I'm brief, I'm specific. So this is really important, because sometimes people will say, oh, we're going to do a training for 400 people. Yes, but how are you going to do the training for 400 people? Do you have the content? What is the content base? What is the content of the training? So those are, questions that the selection committee is going to look at. And then be accurate. So if you say you're going to train 400 people, because you might be training 400 people, but you're not doing trainings, you're kind of doing workshops, you may be doing webinars, because it's, we're training 400 people, it's quite a lot. Then on the budget, don't plan a training for 20 people. Okay, so that's being accurate. And that's really important, because, when we read the applications and we know people are busy, but that we see, okay, they're saying they're gonna train 400 people, but there's only 20 on the budget that they can cover. So it's not accurate. So it's these little things that are really important when you are planning. And I must say that, the application since, back a few years when I started in the program to now, they have really improved a lot, and you have done, major improvements, but those are the typical things that you need to think about. Okay, and I don't want to, take much more of your time. And basically what is this presentation is what we have been talking about. Project management skills are important. You can Google it. There are tons of project skill presentations and programs on the web that give you the basic needs if you are not a project manager. And I'm sure there are people here that are project managers. If you are a project manager, can you just write it on the chat? There are always tons of people that have those skills, but might be people in the community that don't have. And Victor, we have to find a way to share those skills with one another in a better way. So see, any project manager knows that when you're planning a project, there is time, the scope, and the costs. And those are 3 elements that when you're building your application, you have to think about. Okay, the scope, the time, and the cost. How much money will I need to train these 400 people? How much time will I have to do that? So that always goes around and around. And those are the questions that you have to think about. Okay, so I'm going to jump here because I have gone through all these different tips, and we are over the hour. And I'm going to stop here to to see if there are any more questions.
Oh, I'm not seeing any additional question here.
Okay.
Good.
No additional questions. Okay. Okay, so if there aren't any other questions, I would like to thank you very much for being here. Please apply, and if you have any questions while you're during the application process, always reach out to myself and to my colleagues on the chapters team. We'll be very happy to help you with your application. So thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for joining, and we'll be in touch soon.
Good luck.
Victor?
Yes, who is calling?
C'est Eric.
Oui.
Est-ce qu'il y aura une autre présentation pour les francophones?